racing away for the 2023 Qatar Sussex Stakes. It's £1 million Group 1 over the mile, and it's Paddington who strides away in front through the end of the opening furlong. Charring the grey to the inside of Our Diary. He's perhaps a little lit up, a little wider out than is in Spiral, and tucked in behind the French raider Facteur Cheval. The pink and black silks there for Maxime Guillon. They climb over on the far side, then in Paddington under Ryan Moore leads the way in the Sussex Stakes. Shows by a length that just a steady gallop it would appear. The grey charring to the inside of Inspiral. They're racing in second and third. Then the blue and white for Jim Crowley on board Our Diary, and Facteur Cheval still anchored at the rear of the field. They'll soon be up to halfway, and Paddington will lead them on the approach towards the home straight. Inspiral, she's just about moved into second place now, a neck away to Charing back in third. Further length and a half back to Facteur Cheval, and then came Our Diary as they make the turn to straighten towards home. Inspiral looms up here to Paddington as they work towards the stand side running rail as they head down towards the final 3 furlongs. Inspiral now level with Paddington, a length or so away to Charing, now just been pushed along. So too Facteur Cheval. Our Diary angled out to try and have a run at them now. They're racing on down towards the final quarter mile. Paddington now in front by a half a length over the ridden along Inspiral. Facteur Cheval in the pink and black is beginning to pick up, then Charing. Our Diary now looks beaten. They're racing down to the final furlong. It's Paddington who leads the way, but it's hard at it. Facteur Cheval trying to challenge him. Aidan out there towards the strength of the track. It's Paddington from Facteur Cheval, and the run towards the line. It's Paddington. He's still going to be unbeaten this season. He's going to win the Sussex Stakes. Paddington has beaten Facteur Cheval. Charing back in third. Our Diary fourth, and last of 5 Inspiral.
Ryan Moore was on board Paddington, a fantastic win, unbeaten this season in the Sussex Stakes now, and this horse just keeps on doing it. Doesn't matter what the trip, what the opposition is, what the ground is, how he has to be sat in the field, he still just wins. Yeah,
he's just thriving on racing, and he's a very uncomplicated horse. As you say, if it's a mile or 10, he's won on quick ground at Ascot and bad ground here today, and yeah, I can ride him pretty much however the race unfolds. Yeah, he's a very unique horse. So he's just thriving on his racing. Every time he comes to racing, he just feels like he loves it. So yeah, he's unique, and yeah, very fortunate to be riding him in these races. And yeah, I'm sure there'll be bigger tests ahead, but he's done everything we put in front of him.
Talk me through what you were thinking when Frankie got the rail.
I was thinking it's a long way to go, but like I had everything in my own terms early on, and you know, like no one really wanted to lead. I didn't really want to lead, but we're there, and I was thinking I'll just go as gently as I can, get the fence, and go. And Frankie's doing what he can, but it shows you. When we started racing too early, and he was gone at the 2, and where he ended up, you know. And then my lad, he's got a target on him, but he's plenty left.
And is he straightforward in front, or is he the kind of horse that you'd always prefer a lead on?
Well, no, he is straightforward, but like in this sort of ground, when you're going over, it would be nice to if someone was doing the work for you early. But look, he can honestly, it doesn't really matter. We're happy to do whatever happens on the day, really.
Now I'm going to bowl this to Aidan. He has got an arc entry. Would he stay a mile and a half?
It's Montjumer and Dam stayed. There's every chance he could. He's very good at a mile, and we've got a bit of time, so we'll see how he comes out of the race, I expect.
And just last word on his constitution at the age of 3 to be able to reel up all of those wins.
Yeah, well, absolutely. He's everything we put in front of him, he's taken it, and very lucky and delighted, and he's a strong horse, unique horse.
Well done.
Thank you.
What a remarkable constitution Paddington has, unbeaten this season, going to so many different races, one after the other. It doesn't matter about the opposition, the ground, the trip. Harry's ridden, still the outcome the same. Aidan O'Brien, his proud trainer, a 6th Sussex Success win for him. I mean, what a brilliant horse.
Yeah, exactly, Lydia. An incredible horse, really. Credit goes to Andrew. Adrian rides him, Seamus rides him his work, Michael leads him up, and Rory who shoes him, and all the team around him. They're the people that make it happen and help him to turn up every day. But he's an incredible horse. He's thriving from race to race. He's getting heavier, which is very unusual. Trip doesn't seem to be a problem to him. He's unbelievably enthusiastic, very confident, and they've gone very calm. So very unusual horse, Lydia. What he's doing, it's really, really unusual.
It is, and is it this thriving? Have you essentially improvised the campaign in response to how he's thriving?
Yeah, I think so. Like, obviously, we speak to the lads kind of after when he gets back going, and then they pick the race for them the next day. But it's amazing. He's getting ready to run so quick after each race, and like, it's not long since he ran, and I think he was 3 or 4 kilos heavier today than he was the last day again. So he's obviously growing and maturing as well. Little worried today about the ground gone so heavy when he was after putting on that much weight, because usually when a horse puts on weight in that ground, it can be a test of endurance, you know, so rather than speed, and speed is his big thing, but Ryan doesn't think trip is any problem to him, you know, so no, delighted, Lydia, really.
And what might you do with him now? Is the international next?
I think it has to be on the cards. The lads will decide what they want to do, but it definitely has to be on his programme. If he comes out of this race like he has the others, we'll see how much that ground will take out him. But usually, the tougher the races he was getting, the more he's thriving, you know. So it's very rare. He was no way distressed. He was very happy after the race, and listen, he looks very unique, really.
Yeah, he's fabulous, and he's got an Irish Champion Stakes entry as well, and also an ARC entry over 1.5 miles. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think everything is open to him. It depends on what the lads will want to do. And I suppose I saw Tom said he would have an option to go to Australia as well. So like, but listen, it's yeah, I think all the races are open to him. I think, like, obviously, hopefully, we'll maybe look at York with him or whatever the next time and see then. But I think, and like you said, we made an ARC entry with him because there don't seem to be any end to his stamina either. So that's what Ryan thinks, he's so much class, you know. So just like, very, very strange horse, really.
You mentioned Australia. Would that be for the Cox Plate?
I'd imagine so. I'd imagine so. I just saw what Tom and MV were saying and thinking about, and obviously they discuss it with the lads and see. But I would imagine that would be the race if he was to go down there, you know, to Australia. But listen, there's a lot of great races up here too. So obviously he's a very rare, very unique horse, I think, you know. So he's going to be very important at the end of the year, you know. So there's a lot of people watching him now, and you know, and when a horse has those combined genes, they just become very important.
So for him and for his position as the stallion, you know, where would you like to see him running? What do you think would be the best place for him to showcase his talents to the world, I suppose?
Yeah, I don't know, and that's obviously, like, the boss will make that decision, you know, and obviously, and Sue and John and Sue and what was it, Derek and Gay and Michael and Doreen, and now there's Peter and Stephanie and then there's George and Emily. So they will all talk about it, and it'll be their decision really what will happen. I'll usually talk to John the next couple of days and see how he is, and then they'll make that decision what they want to do with him. But he can go really anywhere, really. He can go to any trip, I'd imagine.
Right.
He can go to a mile and a quarter. Like you say, he could even go further, I don't know. It'll depend on what he's going to be asked to do, I suppose, really.
And so Australia rather than America? Because quite often we'd be talking America at this point, wouldn't we?
Yeah, you would, absolutely, and that's at the end. And listen, you can't rule out America either, but obviously there's other horses there to take into consideration, and I suppose it'll be whatever the lads will want to do, really, you know. But the great thing about him is you can nearly go any route with him, I'd imagine.
Is there any chance of him staying in training at 4?
Oh, Jeannie, listen, there's always a chance, Lydia, but I know when genes present themselves that strong, how important they become to the broodmare band, you know, and that's always the worry that something happens to them and that we don't get to see what his progeny are going to be, because he's a very unusual combination of Sayuni, Danehill Montu, all mixed into the one, and loves racing with an unbelievable mind.
What a brilliant one it is as well. In terms of comparing him to horses you've had previously, I've heard him being compared to Giant's Causeway for his constitution. Do you have any horse that you know intimately that you would compare him with, of your greats?
Yeah, sorry, Pivotal is in that mix up as well. No, he's obviously have to think of Giant's Causeway, but he's quicker than Giant's Causeway. Giant's Causeway was tactically quick and then he was dour. But this horse is tactically quick and he relaxes, but then he goes again. Like Ryan just said there after that, he said Frankie came to him early and he had to go with Frankie and he didn't want to go, but he said he had to. And then he said the French horse came to him, and then he said he was with him at the furlong, but then he said he kicked in again at the furlong marker. So Ryan said that's a very unusual thing, and I asked Ryan then, did he feel like he was getting near the end, and he said no, like, you know, so that's very unusual. And usually in that ground, like when horses do challenge you, no matter how steady you go, you will start getting near the end, going to the line, you know. So, but he was very confident that he wasn't, you know. So listen, it'll be exciting.
I get the sense you love talking about him. You use the word unusual about him. That's the word that you attach to him most.
Yeah, well, I think that's why he is like that. He's every run how much he has progressed, and like I say, he's the combination of all the bloodlines that are in him to train him. You feel all those things in him, and the mind to go with it, and the constitution, which makes him very, very unique, really.
I don't want to end this interview on a downer, but I did mention to Kevin Buckley that I was going to ask you today about Auguste Rodin following the King George. Now, there was a column in The Sun this week that suggested quite strongly, without saying it out loud, that he might have broken a blood vessel at Ascot. Was that the case?
No, never. He never did, ever. All our horses are scoped after work. His heart rate was perfect, his lungs were perfect. I think Ascot, the race, it was a very strong run, tough race, and I suppose he's a baby 3-year-old. He was wide, and that's where he was drawn. At halfway, I think Ryan felt that he was labouring a bit, and I suppose then he did the right thing. Like Ryan, knowing the class that the horse had, he said rather than take a chance in emptying him, he decided to eat back off him, and it was 100% the right thing, because it turned out a very, very tough race, and the two horses that won it are horses that are probably very comfortable at 1.5 miles or 1.5 miles or 1.6 miles, and it was a real, it turned into a real dogfight. And for him, as a baby 3-year-old with the class he has, it might have been 100% the right thing what Ryan did. But he came home great. He's in great form. We'll start this programme again, and then we see how he is, and then the lads will decide where he goes. But I would imagine it was one of those things that just totally went wrong, and Ryan didn't take the chance of giving him a hard race, of making him get into the race and then fight when you could finish him for all time. So I'd imagine that's what did happen. But we really look forward to him the next day.
And finally, I thought you've also mentioned the flying over, that he might not have enjoyed flying.
Yeah, we always look for common denominators when things go wrong, what happened. And obviously the two common denominators is it was bad enough ground, and I think Ascot was slower than anyone thought, but he got away with that in York as a 2-year-old. But the strong common denominator is that he flew twice in the morning. He flew to the Guineas, and he flew to Ascot. So the other times he didn't fly. So maybe all combination of those things, but I think it was maybe the first one happened, and I think when Ryan felt the gauge go a little bit low, which he was surprised at that early in the race, for a horse to show us what he shows, he took him out of it and didn't take a chance. So I think it was 100% the right thing, and but it's going to be very interesting. But when you run against those old horses in a very strong run race, and I think I heard Jim Crowley saying that was the best race he ever rode in, so it was a real war, and he didn't get caught up in it. So I think long term we could be lucky, and that could be lucky for him.
Okay. Aidan, thank you so much for your thoughts. Many congratulations with Paddington.
Pleasure. Thanks, Lydia.
Subscribe to Racing TV's YouTube channel now to watch more great races